A disturbing story.
Shocking allegations of rape.
Been arrested and charged of raping and bribing two women.
Sentenced him to just 5 months in prison for that crime.
The single most common drug that is found in cases of sexual assault is alcohol by a very, very, very large margin. Typically, the other drugs that are found in those cases are also not what you would expect. Cannabis is always number 2. And then number 3 is very often things that you also wouldn't expect: cocaine, amphetamines, MDMA. When there's a delay in reporting, especially if there was drugs or alcohol involved, then that during the entire time that delay is taking place, the drugs and the alcohol that were present are being metabolized, and so there's very often little, if anything, left. Certainly in the bloodstream, not always, but very often little or no drugs left in the bloodstream, which means they have to rely on a urine sample, which they collect at the hospital as part of the evidence kit. But you can't correlate a urine drug concentration with any kind of effect. All you can say is that there was exposure. So if it was cannabis and alcohol that were involved, there's no way to look at a urine sample and say that person was incapacitated by the combination of those two drugs. A common scenario is that the victim, male or female, is very often out at a party or at a bar, something like that. Very often they're consuming alcohol, they're with friends, and a very common claim or common feature in the case history is that they feel unexpectedly intoxicated based on the amount of alcohol or drugs, whatever they were using, that they consumed. So they feel extremely intoxicated.
I was in like an apartment, and this guy was sexually assaulting me. He was raping me. He was on top of me, and I couldn't really breathe that much, but I was saying, please stop, stop. Like, I remember his roommate or whoever this other guy was came in, and he was saying, like, dude, stop. Like, what are you doing? She's telling you to stop.
Me and my girlfriend kind of just flopped down, like face first on my bed. The next thing I remember, he was on top of me, and he had a hand inside of my underwear, and he was trying to put a finger inside of me. I yanked him by the hair, and I looked over and I just saw her naked back, and I know that she had fallen asleep with all of her clothes on. And so my next question was, why is she naked? And he smiled as he was still on top of me, fondling me with one hand, and he reached out and pet her naked belly and said, oh, I did that, I undressed her.
I kind of just want to know, like, why me? It doesn't really make sense.
Really?
Oh my God.
Wow, that's actually a lot higher than I thought it would be.
It's an eye-opener. I think that really...
It's like really intense. I thought it wasn't as bad in Canada, but I guess not. I feel like we're misinformed, like I didn't know any about that.
Yeah. It really shocked me.
It actually makes me sick. That's really crazy.
When you hear that Canada, which I think is the greatest country in the world, ranked 7th on that list, obviously becomes very, very scary.
They focus on like math and like all this stuff, but they don't really teach you about things that are happening in the world.
Well, it's because we don't know, because people don't come out and talk about it.
I feel so bad.
I feel like it's one of those things that
Taboo.
if you don't talk about it, it won't happen. but it shouldn't be.
It's kind of like the whole stigma of mental health, right? People are just kind of afraid to talk about it. They don't know how to address it. They don't know how to kind of cope with the feelings that come with that.
It's a subject that not a lot of people talk about.
And there's so many girls who get like catcalled on the streets and they're like terrified. And I know girls who are like, I can't even go downtown because they're so afraid.
Now that I'm hearing all this, it's kind of scary.
I just feel that wouldn't happen if we all respected each other as human beings.
I think we just try to like hide it, like because we think that's what's saving people, but it's not. Yeah.
I think there's a lot more that we have to do to raise awareness.
The first thing they ask, if a girl comes forward, that's why it's so scary. They come forward and they say, you know what, I was raped. And then the first thing they asked them was, were you drunk? Were you wearing a short skirt?
Were you at a party?
And then that's actually the grossest thing for me, because why then the girl starts questioning, like, you know what, I was drunk, so I think I said no, I didn't want it, so I guess next time if I'm not drunk and I say no, it just won't happen. But that's wrong. Like, we're teaching people to believe that their no doesn't matter all the time.
There's many people who say you can't rape men, you can't sexually assault men. That's not true. Men can be assaulted by women, men can be raped by women, and that has to be brought up. Like, that's a real thing. You can't just disregard these people's reports.
That's a lot to do with like masculinity and how men are always supposed to be the ones that are so macho and strong, and they can't be the ones that show weakness.
Men still aren't comfortable coming forward with that kind of information, whereas a lot of work has been put into the past years of empowering women to speak up and get out there, and it's still a stigma for a lot of men.
I wouldn't have thought the difference was that large between men and women. Obviously, any statistic that has to do with sexual assault is alarming, but when you hear 1 in 4, that's especially alarming.
With a girl, it's a very big deal. We always make it a big deal. But for guys, it's like getting laid is like the big deal. So even if it wasn't consensual, they're like, oh, well, it's still good. Like, it's not validated in the same seriousness.
We need to step up more, for sure. The statistics are pretty frightening, and for Canada to be the 7th largest or highest number for countries in the world is frightening.
Well, I don't think a lot of people are well informed about these facts. I think it's important because education is the beginning to how we can change things. I'd hate to think that people are indifferent to this. It affects so many people.
People sometimes don't see it as a crime. They're like, oh, well, like, what were you wearing, or what were you doing that provoked that person to do that? And it's like, no, like, it doesn't matter.
And like, it's really scary to think like 1 in 4 people, like, there's 4 of us in the room right now. That's like a freaky statistic.
A lot more than you think.
No.
Change that immediately.
It shouldn't be the case where we have to protect ourselves from this, because it doesn't make sense.
The only person that's really gonna know the truth is you. And how do you bring that up to somebody who hasn't been raped, doesn't know what it feels like to have that happen to them or go through that?
We have to realize that it's not somebody else's problem or issue, it's all of our issues. So I think all schools, anything that comes to you, we need to work together with either the university, or the university has to work together with other agencies so that anything that's reported is documented for sure.
That's a really scary thought to me, because I'm going to university next year, and I'm really excited for my experience. It's kind of scary because I'm starting in a brand new place, brand new city, faces that I've never met before. I'm going to be around boys for the first time in 6 years. So that thought actually really frightens me.
Uncomfortable, because I thought university, like, schools are supposed to keep you safe when you're away. It's like a second home, but sexual assault wouldn't be allowed in any home. So to say that it's allowed in university, to say that they don't protect you against it is very, very red flag for me.
Going off to university next year, like, just hearing the facts and stuff, makes me a little nervous because it could happen to me. You said 1 out of 4 girls.
I think that it's especially important at a university where people are just starting to figure out who they want to be, who they are, trying to develop their confidence, that they feel comfortable where they are.
Knife as it goes right in, cut to my core, but I'm not bleeding. All that you say, you're trying to make me small. Well, the bigger you get, the harder you fall. You use your words as a weapon, dear, but your blades don't hurt when you have no fear. You think that you're deep under my skin, you're trying to keep me suffering. If you use your words as a weapon, then as a weapon I'll shed no tears. You have my heart, but I'll lock it up. This burning flame has been burnt enough. My windows crack, they can be replaced, but your armor tight, throwing stones my way. You use your words as a weapon, dear, but your blades don't hurt when you have no fear. You think that you're deep under my skin, you're trying to keep me suffering. If you use your words as a weapon, and as a weapon I'll shed no tears. Use your words as a weapon, dear, but your blades don't hurt when you have no fear. You think that you're deep under my skin, you try